Hey everybody, this is Fantasy Football Endgame brought to you by Bear Clothing, and we're here to talk about our favorite mid-round value picks. We already went over our favorite early round picks in rounds 1, 2, and 3. Check out that video if you haven't already. So now let's go through rounds 4 through 7. Not talking about who we think is the best player available in each round. Of course, that depends on your draft. But which player is being taken probably way too low, might still be available, we think is the best value pick. And let's start with round 4. Chris, let's set it off.
Yeah, I've been grabbing Mike Evans in round 4 every chance I can. To me, he's like he starts the next tier of wide receivers after the first, let's say, like 13 or 14 guys. We saw last year with Tom Brady. Yeah, it was a little slow in the beginning, but that's to be expected. But down the stretch, Evans was Tom Brady's guy, especially around the goal line, right? He was the guy. They would get near the goal line, and Brady would just look for Mike Evans. 13 touchdowns last year. I don't see any reason why he can't have double-digit touchdowns again. Top 1,000 yards again. He averaged 17. If you look at the games with him, Antonio Brown, and Chris Godwin, Mike Evans averaged over 17 points per game, which, we're talking about a wide receiver 1 type number. So I think Mike Evans, a great value in the 4th round.
Yeah, by this point, you're probably looking for a receiver because pretty much all the running backs are taken by then in a typical draft. Not necessarily these endgame mock drafts that we do. We got some pretty savvy drafters in there. But as far as the receivers there, I think this is still early enough. You want to play it mostly safe. You're not going to roll the dice. You want somebody who has that weekly upside, but also isn't a big unknown. And to me, Cooper Kupp kind of fits that bill. This is somebody, if he hadn't missed a game due to injury last year, would have had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. He had 92 catches. And think about the fact that a lot of people, well, pretty much everybody, is thinking that this offense is going to get better with Matthew Stafford there now. Okay, so that means a healthy Kupp is definitely going over 1,000 yards, over 100 catches. Why would he go down from last year? And that's exactly the kind of floor you want from your, probably wide receiver 2 at that point. So I'm loving Cooper Kupp there at that range. Mid 4th round is usually where you find him, but it's a great value to me because he actually could produce much higher by the end of the year. All right, now what about round 5?
Yeah, this one's really confusing to me. I've been drafting this guy a lot, and that's Deontay Johnson. He had 9 games last year with 10 or more targets, and that was with him missing a couple games and having a game where he got, benched, I guess, because of the drops or whatever. Yeah, I know he doesn't put up massive yardage. I know he doesn't score a ton of touchdowns. But in PPR leagues, this guy is an absolute monster. There's no reason to think that's going to change. It's the exact same offense as last year. The only difference is Najee Harris instead of James Conner. Same receiving group, same quarterback. Everything's the same. I don't understand how Deontay Johnson continues to fall to the 5th round. This guy puts up weekly, low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2 numbers. And nobody wants him for some reason. So I think he's an absolute incredible value in the 5th round.
A lot of solid receivers still available. To me, what I'm doing a lot of times is this modified 0 RB build. You take one stud running back early, either 1st or 2nd round. You get your 3 receivers, and then you find your 2nd running back either round 5 or round 6. So if you're still looking for your 2nd running back in round 5, I think it's got to be Kareem Hunt. I know some people like guys like Mike Davis and Myles Gaskin. I like them too, just a little bit later. But we're talking about a guy in Kareem Hunt who, even though you say, oh, he's the backup to Nick Chubb, so what? How many teams don't have a committee at running back these days? This is somebody who put up 1,145 total yards last year and 11 touchdowns as the backup. And if Nick Chubb does, God forbid, go down with an injury, you're talking about somebody who could be a top 5 running back for the season. I know he didn't necessarily put up monster numbers with Chubb out last year, but it was still pretty good. And you look by season's end, he's a top 20 running back. He will be with or without Chubb. This is a team that wants to run the ball. They'll continue to do so. This is the type of running back that you want. And again, at this point in the draft, you're looking for your 2nd running back. He's probably the safest thing out there. All right, 6th round. Who are you looking at?
I'm going wide receiver again. A guy I've been talking about all offseason. That's Courtland Sutton. Getting a major injury discount here. This guy had almost 1,200 yards 2 years ago. Was a top 20 wide receiver. Was being drafted as a top 20 wide receiver last year. Then in the first half of the first game, out for the season, and now nobody wants him, and I don't understand why. he's an alpha type receiver, right? He's a big body outside receiver. The kind of guys we usually drew like the opposite of Deontay Johnson, right? This guy can go over 1,000 yards easily. This guy could put up double-digit touchdowns. If he had played a full season last year, there's no way he'd be going this low. This is just, to me, just an incredible value. And look, it's either going to be Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater. Either way, I think it's okay for him. So to me, Cortland Sutton in the 6th round every single time I can.
So at this point, look, I know we've talked about tight ends. Do you pick one early? Well, it's not a mistake per se to take a guy like Travis Kelce super early. It just affects your build, that you're going to have to pivot the rest of the way because you didn't take a high-end running back or receiver early on. If you're not taking somebody like Kelce early, but you still want one of those top tight end options to kind of have that security of the position, I say go for TJ Hawkinson. He's available in round 5. That ADP has been creeping up because a lot of people are catching on to the fact that he is going to be the #1 target in Detroit. And I know it's hard to get excited about that offense, right? I get that. But they are going to have an offense. They're going to pass the ball. Look, Jared Goff, just because the Rams moved on from him, he is not garbage, right? This is a guy who's put up big numbers in the NFL. Look, the thing with him and Sean McVay just stopped working. He's still going to be a productive, if not a superior quarterback in Detroit. And Hawkinson's going to be their guy, right? This is a team that doesn't have a ton of great options at wide receiver, and that's when tight ends thrive. So I really think Hawkinson is due for top 5 for sure, possibly top 3. He might join that big 3 at tight end this year. I'm targeting him, and then I feel pretty good about my tight end position, and then I can stack receivers later. All right, moving on to the next round now. Last mid-round value. If you're in the 7th round, Chris, who do you like the most?
Well, no surprise. It's another receiver. This one from my football team, and that's Curtis Samuel. I loved this signing when the football team made it. I think he's a perfect fit for this offense. They don't have anybody who does what Curtis Samuel does. He's going to get carries out of the backfield. He's going to get bubble screens. He's going to get intermediate routes, and I've talked about it with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think this whole entire passing offense is going to be very, very good this year. So I think Curtis Samuel, if you're looking at this, if you do start with the early running back and then you start attacking wide receivers, he could be your wide receiver 4 or wide receiver 5. And I think that's just amazing value for Curtis Samuel. So to me, Curtis Samuel in the 7th round, yeah, just great value.
Agree with that. I'm going to go with a different receiver here. I think it's being undervalued. That's Tyler Boyd of the Bengals. Talk about what's going to happen in that pass offense. Well, we don't know who's necessarily going to be the #1 or the 2 or the 1A or whatever in terms of targets. Jamar Chase, of course, kind of provides a new wrinkle to that offense. Is he going to be the guy because of that LSU connection? Is it going to be T. Higgins, that second year, kind of breakout, take at least a step forward? Or could it be the guy who's Mr. Reliable, Tyler Boyd, who catches everything thrown to him? It doesn't necessarily matter. The point is, Tyler Boyd will be productive. He's somebody that's being drafted after Higgins and Chase. So you'll see Chase probably go in round 5, sometimes even earlier. Higgins, round 5 or 6. And then the last of the trio is Boyd. He could put up numbers comparable, if not better, than both those other two. So why not wait and take him as your wide receiver 3? This is a guy, don't forget, that the first half of last season with Joe Burrow at quarterback before that injury, he was averaging 7 receptions and 73 yards per game, which doesn't sound amazing. That would have been 17th in the league in terms of yard per game receiving, ahead of guys like Keenan Allen. So when you think about it that way, that's pretty good. Will he reach those averages again? Probably not because of Chase, but still, this is a team that doesn't have a big pass catching threat at tight end. And then they lost Gio Bernard. Mixon can only catch so many passes. They're going to have, just on volume alone, a lot of targets to go around. So don't sleep on Boyd. He's a very good value pick when you're there in round 7. All right, catch our other videos. We talked about early round values already, and we're going to talk about, of course, the late round values. You don't want to miss that. Find those sleepers late in your draft. All right, thanks for watching.